Hi everyone, this is Utkarsh. I'm a product manager and co-founder of Creators of Products. Uh, if you haven't heard of Creators of Products yet, we are a community. We are an open community for all kind of product creators. We have product managers, designers, founders, engineers, marketeers, and a lot more different kind of people. What we do in our community, particularly on Slack, Twitter, and LinkedIn, is we host discussions around product building, and it's open to everyone. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're a student, if you're a veteran, we are open to all, and we try to help each other. Apart from discussions, we have a dedicated channel for mentorship where you can find mentors. You can also look for jobs and a lot more, lot more. I would definitely recommend you to check out creatorsofproducts.com to sign in on our Slack, and I'll post the link in chat very soon. Today, we are here in the first session of Design for Everyone series. This is a series where each session is focused at the different kind of jobs or professionals around a designer. So this is not directly aimed at how to be a better designer. This is more around how to work with designers, how to get into design, and how to build a design. Also, we have a list of different sessions that we are going to conduct. The first session today is with Sahil Khan. He's a product designer at Last9. In the past, he's a co-founder of Quinto with a successful exit. He will take us today and do the session on how to break into design. The session is split into this, where the first 30 to 40 minutes will be Sahil talking to us about mainly two things. How did he break into design back when he did over a decade ago? And how would someone can do it today? That's the first part. And in the second part, we'll take questions from you, the audience. If you have questions during the session, please write it down into the chat and we'll take it as we go ahead towards the end of the session. Yeah, that's about it from me. Sahil, anything else that you'd want to tell the audience?
Actually, I don't mind questions coming in the middle. I'm happy to answer them as we go. I haven't necessarily made it interactive that way, but if you have any questions, no need to wait till the end. We can do that in the middle as well.
Okay, okay. So you don't mind people coming up, right? Because that usually takes some time. Doing this, that might help a bit. I mean, it's up to you. If you're comfortable with that, we can do that.
Sure.
Great. So I'll take a pause now. Over to you, Sahil, and I'll just.
Right. Cool. Perfect. Thanks a lot, Utkarsh. Before I just want to sort of get started, I just wanted to get a sense of how many folks are freshers looking to get into design, and can everyone just sort of like raise their hands? You can raise your hands on Zoom. I just wanted to sort of get a quick sense of how everyone is. Got it. And are there others who are looking at switching their career line itself? Can they also just sort of raise their hands? Okay. Fair number of people looking at switching as well. All right, cool, perfect. Thank you so much. All right, so the questions that some of you had filled out while signing up, Utkarsh has shared them with me as well. I will try to answer them towards the end. But yeah, if someone has questions, please feel free to drop them here and we'll take it up. So before I jump in, just sort of quick intro. Today, currently, I am a product designer at a company called Last9. It's a B2B SaaS product in the DevOps and SRE space. But before this, I've been doing a bunch of things over the last 12 odd years. As Utkarsh mentioned, I was a co-founder at Quinto, which got acquired a few years ago. Until then, so I actually sort of wanted to cut out, Utkarsh was actually had a longer intro for me. I thought, I'll cover the intro for myself and that will give a sense of how I broke into design itself. Back in college, so I did my college in 2006, 2009. And I actually studied BBA. I don't have a formal education background in design. But in my first year of college, we had an optional subject called multimedia. We didn't necessarily learn anything. Not that I learned anything during the other classes either. But that at least sort of got me introduced to design, and that sort of started off the whole journey for me as well. Right after college, so during college, I started freelancing, and for a very long time, actually, until I started Quinto, I continued to freelance after college. So that was like a good 4 or 5 years that I was still freelancing. But in the middle, I did a couple of things. I ended up doing a restaurant a year after college called Yorkshire. This was in Pune itself. It was an ex specialty. And that entire time while I was in college also, I started a website where we used to write about food, arts, music, lifestyle, those things, everything around sort of Pune. Quinto was a food recommendation app originally. That idea sort of came to me as I was running the toss salad itself. And eventually we raised some money. We had to at some point pivot to a B2B product with the tech that we built, and then we sort of gotten acquired. And after the acquisition, at that time, I decided, you know what, I'm kind of done with wondering where my next check is going to come from. Since before Quinto, when I was freelancing, so I thought I'll, for a change, now take up a job, and then I ended up joining Mark, and now at Last Nine. I'll break this session into 2 parts. How did I do it back then? What are some additional things that you can do today? There is a fair bit of things that I did back in the day that still apply today. So coming to how did I do it? And I see that a lot of people, there were some questions that how can you break into design or product management without having that background or not having an engineering background? For some reason, the tech industry, the tech startups that we have today, a lot of the designers are ex-engineers somehow. I don't know how that ended up happening, but it's great. It shows that people without a formal design background can get in as well. Like I said, I taught myself, even though there was a subject called multimedia in school, in college. I didn't necessarily learn anything, but I got introduced to the idea of design. And as I sort of got introduced to the design, to that idea, I just went about looking at what people were doing. And because I was in college, things like, college fests would happen, college events would happen. They would need something done. They would need a brochure, they would need a deck. And I would just end up Googling how to do X, Y, Z. How do I make brochures? I would look at brochure designs. I would go to tutorial sites for designing a brochure. They would tell me, oh, I need to get Adobe InDesign and make things in that. And that's basically how I learned doing those things. And since I was in a computer institute, this was Symbiosis Institute of Computer Studies and Research, I ended up dabbling a little with code. And for some reason, one of my professors thought that I could build the website for our entrepreneurship cell. I had no idea how HTML or any of those things work, but I took some help from seniors. I Googled a lot. People pointed me towards using WordPress to build out a website. And that was the rabbit hole that I think I needed to sort of get to where I was today. So while I was in college, I started doing all of those things, and I kept on faking it till I eventually made it. To be honest, I still feel like I'm faking it a lot of times. Imposter syndrome is absolutely real. I don't think it ever ends, but I also think that it is helpful to sort of keep you in check, that you don't get over your head, and you continue to sort of learn. Today, you will see a lot of engineers tweet as well that, they get stuck at times, very senior engineers tweeting about, they get stuck at times and them having to look at Stack Overflow, etc., to find, to look up code, etc. There are some engineers who even tweeted that I don't remember the code that for a library that I wrote, and there are other people who have done better documentation of it, etc. So all of those things are not just applicable to those senior engineers, but to a lot of the designers as well, and I think to all other industries as well. So I would read a fair amount. So I sort of had an idea, had some grasp of things, of how things were. So I could have that conversation when I would have to pitch to a client. I could talk through my ass, and somehow they would buy it and they would give me a contract. I remember this was like probably like maybe a few months out of college. I had managed to get a contract which would basically pay me $1 lakh a month at that time. This was 2009. Yeah, 2009, 2010 is sort of, so I just talked my way through it. Of course, I had to deliver at the end of the day as well. But just sort of keeping on doing it let me get to where I am. जो दिखता है वो बिकता है. What people can see, can appreciate, it sells at the end of the day. There are two parts to it. Part B is when I sort of talk about what you can do today. But part A over here is I would show up, not just to do the job, but I would go network the hell out. It's kind of surprising to me that even today, a lot of non-designers today, like be it founders, etc., they're like, "मुझे designer चाहिए. Can you connect me to someone? Do you know someone who's who can do some design, etc." and all of those things. They're still wondering where do they find designers, and a lot of these networking events happen, non-design networking events happen, where I barely see any designers. It was the case back in the day. It still continues to be the case today. Just showing up over there and meeting these people and letting them know that you can design, that you're available for projects, that you're available to be hired, is like the easiest way currently in, like, of course, with the assumption that you have some work done, that you know, or at least some portfolio to show to someone that, hey, these are the kind of designs that I've been doing. So I would show up. I of course was sort of freelancing back in the day, so I anyways had to sort of go to these events to network and to sell myself and to sell my skill set so that people would pay me for it. But I genuinely think these events have had helped and will sort of help you sort of get your foot in the door. And to be honest, not just non-design tech events. It's kind of funny that just being sort of part of different communities, non-engineering, non-startup communities, has sort of helped me get a lot of my gigs as well. I ended up joining Last9 last year because of the other designer on the team who was already here. Who, when I was talking to him about things, and he's like, "Oh, why don't you come to Last9?" How do I know that guy? I know him because I was part of a coffee community. Just a mutual interest in coffee basically sort of made that introduction happen. I don't think I'm great at design, but these sort of things have sort of helped open doors for me. So it really is about sort of, being able to sort of build that network, tap into it, and see where it sort of takes you. The other thing was there today. Definitely, you have a lot of people that you can sort of reach out to. There is a design community today. It wasn't necessarily the case back in the day, but what I see a lot of people is that people show up by not doing any homework and asking very generic questions, which doesn't really help anyone. It doesn't help you to get specific, sharp advice. It wastes your time. It wastes my time. What I would do is that I would try to do it until to the point that I got stuck. And then when I got stuck, I would take that to someone that who could help me with very specific advice. It shows that you sort of appreciate their time as well, and they continue to help you as well in the long run. Otherwise, they will start to ghost you. So it helps that you show up by doing your homework. And this of course sort of took some time, but over time I learned to be irreplaceable, indispensable. Over the years, since I've dabbled with, making logos and marketing material, I've built websites and, not just designed them. It has become, it's helped me become an important part of whatever team I'm on. So sort of going wide has been able to sort of help me. It comes from a great place of privilege. I understand that everyone doesn't have the time to sort of go that wide, but I think it sort of has helped today. There is always that conversation about, should designers learn to code or should engineers learn to design? I think there is a soft spot of where engineers knowing bits of design and designers knowing bit of code help for them to sort of especially collaborate and work together. It gives me a better idea of what can be done and what cannot be done. There have been instances where the other side has come back to me saying, sorry boss, this can't be done, and I'm like, I'm not sure. And I went and dug around examples, etc., with code references as well, saying this is how you do it. I don't think I would have been necessarily been able to sort of do that if I hadn't had that slight understanding of how those things work. And of course, it sort of helps you grow up the ladder as well, because you're able to sort of be that bridge between those two teams as well. Does anyone have any questions till now? I can't necessarily see everyone's face, so I don't even know what's happening. I don't know if I've bored people. Does anyone have anything? Is it all okay to go ahead? Okay, nothing so far. All right, so how can you do it? What I did back in the day is still applicable. You try those things, and you'll be surprised how it takes some time, it takes some effort. I taught myself those things, but there are some courses that I will sort of point you in that direction towards the end, that you could possibly just to sort of help you fast track things. But those things still sort of be put in the time and effort if you don't have the money, and those things sort of will open doors for you. If you're not sure if you want to get into product design, if you want to get into visual design, you want to get into UX research, etc., and all of those things, see what interests you. Try to do some small projects. Maybe you want to do, just like any fresher portfolio that's out there, that they do a fake project, they take a problem statement, and they put things around it. Build a portfolio using that method, right? Do a couple of projects, 2-3 projects or case studies, and try to pick up some freelance projects. You can go to websites like Fiverr and put your portfolio there. Don't try to charge a lot. See what is the lowest that you can charge, just for you to sort of get a hang of that. Is it work that you actually enjoy as well? Apart from that route, what you can do is try applying at agencies or larger companies where there is an established design team, so that they're able to sort of take interns and freshers and train them. Especially at an agency, you'll get a wider exposure because they tend to have different designers working on a bunch of different projects, etc. So you will be able to interact with a wide variety of designers to get a sense of what do you enjoy doing as well. A lot of the companies today do end up paying stipends for interns, if that is one concern. And so that's there. Part 2 of जो दिखता है वो दिखता है. A lot of people will say that it's okay, if you want to focus on UX design, you can just put in wireframes, etc., and all of those things. You don't have to get good at visual design. I disagree with that. Unfortunately, for everyone, the first impression that they get is how your portfolio or whatever you've shared with them looks. The thing is, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to put in screens, or it has to be a website design or an app design, etc. If you are talking about UX, etc., and all of those things, make sure that whatever you're sharing is still designed well. Master the basics of typography, colors, spacings, etc. And design isn't, like I said, it doesn't necessarily have to be a website or an app design. Design isn't just the screens you're making. Are you writing documentation? Are you making flow diagrams? Are you sending an email, for that matter, right? Today, for me as a designer, there is a fair bit of documentation that I have to do. I have to write PRDs and design specs before I even pick up the pen and pencil to sort of figure out what I want to design. We are doing a lot of remote work these days. A lot of companies have gone remote. Being the ability of being working remotely and async means that you need to be able to write better documentation as well. Don't dump in paragraphs after paragraphs. Those things that at the end of the day is user experience as well for the other person that's involved in reading the documentation. I used to lose marks in my exams because I would innately sort of, write my answers in points and try to be as short as possible. Today, it's the other way around. For me, writing down things in points is just better for the other person to be able to read as well. The same thing sort of applies to sending out emails and things like that as well. I was saying, just making better documentation and flow diagrams. Just look at these diagrams, for example. They're ridiculously good looking. The first time I saw these, I was like, wow, like I need to up my game in terms of what diagrams I'm sharing. This is literally just documentation that a designer made. It's insane. And remember, everything can be designed, right? you can, at the end of the day, what is a design, right? It is just a spec of how something will work, will feel or look. Um, can you improve the experience of collaborating with your engineers? You can you can write a document and make a project out of that itself and show that keep like, this is how uh, design and engineering sort of the workflow can improve. Um, does your what does the what does the journey for your user look? Is does your user have a journey outside of the website or the app that you're building? Maybe it is part of customer support, etc. Those are things as well that you can sort of collaborate with, say, the customer support team to improve the experience for your user at the end of the day. Is your company building a developer tool? Like in my case, something that I've been sort of working on with the customer success team recently has been on improving the user guide and the product and API documentation itself. I make screens, I draw rectangles over there, but there are so many other touch points at the end of the day where I can have an impact because I look at it and I'm like, hey, I don't like how the flow over here works. I don't like how can I marry the product documentation in such a way with the product where it takes it even further. Those are also things that you can sort of design as well. Okay, here are some resources. I will put a link to this deck here, or I will ask Utkarsh to sort of send it across to everyone as well. These are some just to sort of get you started as well. It is not necessarily sort of very detailed. These are two of these websites, Smashing Magazine and A List Apart. I've been reading them and following them since college, and they continue to do a fantastic job today about writing about the industry, the various aspects of design, be it user experience, research, psychology, sharing assets on a bunch of different things. There's a lot of theory as well, especially if you're going through A List Apart. Oh, and A List Apart, for every of those articles, they commission these illustrations that you're seeing on the site. They're absolutely beautiful illustrations. It's insane. There is this framework called Tailwind. Those guys have come out with a book called Refactoring UI. They have some free stuff as well. You can go to their website. The website's linked here. And they give you simple tips to sort of how you can improve your design. Like this in this example, here are two cards showing the same information, but just how it's laid makes a huge difference in sort of the impact that you have on the design. They also have some videos and stuff on their blogs and on their YouTube channel where they've redesigned some websites and stuff. So you get a sense of how they're thinking about of how things can be improved. That will give you some sense of how people in the industry, especially seniors, etc., look at doing little tweaks and how they can improve the overall look and feel and experience as well. There are some courses that you can sort of look at to sort of fast track your whole thing. 10K Designers, it's run by Abhinav, who was the head of design at Unacademy until I think a couple of years ago. They've just announced a new cohort, so you should probably look into. Even if you don't have a background in design, I think you are eligible for this course. They've got a massive community on Discord, so it's a great place to just sort of interact with other folks. Be it the alumni, the mentors, or just people sort of within your own batch as well. Fantastic place to sort of do that. Abhinav's colleague from an academy, Sneha, she was leading the brand design team there, and then eventually was the head of design at Graphy. She's collaborating with 10K designers to do a cohort just for brand design. They don't have a cohort running right now, but they've said that they have a cohort coming mid this year. So keep an eye out on that. Again, you don't necessarily have to get into product design. There are different aspects of it within the tech industry: UX research, UI, visual design, brand design, etc. So if you're an illustrator, maybe brand design is something that you can sort of probably look into moving as well. There's another course called OwnPath. They've recently introduced a senior track as well, but there is a product design fellowship that they have. They, I think, are taking applications for the next cohort now, but you will probably need a year or 2 years of experience. This just sort of helps you, improve your skill sets that you currently have and just take it a notch up. All of these courses, they work with industry folks, and those mentors from all these larger companies, etc., eventually also end up hiring a lot of these folks from these cohorts. So it's like another great way to sort of get your foot in the door. This example over here, OwnPath, Mudita Sasodia, she actually was an engineering graduate. She just 2019, she just graduated. So the bit where I was saying, sort of networking, meeting people, etc., she did this very well, right? She at some point had reached out to Rahul Gonzalez of Obvious. And at some point, I was talking to Rahul about wanting to hire a few folks. And Rahul pointed me to Mudita that, hey, Mudita is looking to break into design. Why don't you, look at her work, etc., and see if it makes sense? And I actually, yes, Shreyas does run OwnPath, yeah. So I liked what Mudita had done with her portfolio. She had done 2 case studies by herself. She had taken the time out to do that. I saw that there was a clear difference in the first case study and the second case study that she did. There was this, even that minuscule growth that I saw, I could see that she had that sort of, that if given the right sort of direction, etc., she can grow. And that was sort of the lucky break that she got from there, right? And she ended up working with me for about a year and a half. Then she went and did this fellowship with OwnPath. Today, she works as a product designer at Obvious. There are a bunch of folks who are doing YouTube videos, etc. Again, Abhinav, who runs 10K Designers, he has a YouTube channel where he shares a bunch of stuff across the design industry, does tutorials, does interviews, there's podcasts and all of those things as well, like fantastic resource. In general, if you go to the 10K Designers website, there's a bunch of different sub-projects that Abhinav has done over the years. All of them just overall great resources to sort of, dip your toes in. Raji, he currently works with Figma. There are a bunch of YouTube videos featuring him, but on his Twitter, he shares a lot of tips and tricks, how to do things on Figma, especially. Brian, I'm forgetting where he works currently, but on his website, similar to how Refactoring UI has done some redesign projects, what Brian has done is he's done critiques of existing projects, where sort of, and some of his clients have allowed him to share those things. So again, sort of a great place to sort of see how he's looking at an existing design and thinking things can be improved. And there is a before and after. There was one video that I was seeing recently where he did a redesign, where a lot of people would be like, "Oh, this is so nice," etc. But the client came back saying, these are the issues that I see with the new design, and I would like some of those things from the older design, and the older design was fugly, to be retailed. And how Brian sort of manages to find the right balance between that fugly design and the minimal sleek design that he had come up with, and then he had to do a take two of it, and how sort of those things work. And I maintain a list of Indian designers on Twitter. There are about 500 odd people on it. Another great place to just sort of see what people are talking about, sharing, and for you to just connect with and talk to as well. Yep, I guess that's it. You can reach out to me on Twitter, or you can email me. I should have said this right in the beginning. This is very, very generic advice. If anyone's looking for something more specific, you're welcome to DM me on Twitter or drop me an email, and I'm happy to sort of, get on a call with you and help you be more specific with what you're looking for. Yeah, I think I've shot way over time, but please now questions.
Thank you so much for this, Sahil. We have one question from Vikas. Vikas, you want to unmute yourself and ask it?
Yeah, hi, Sahil. So,
Yeah.
Sahil, as you mentioned that the designer should have, it would be great if designers should have some basic knowledge of technology, right? So, I'm working as a product manager, and sometimes I felt that if the product designer is having some knowledge about the technology, it might sort of struggle. They struggle with some ideation part because they start thinking that whether as a tech engineering team is will be able to build that sort of solution or not, whatever they are thinking.
Right.
How would you suggest how we can go through that? Should we include designers in the tech discussion or not? Sort of.
Yeah. No, you absolutely should. There's actually one session that's planned in the series later on for engineers and PMs to work with designers. And it's both ways, right? Designers should be involving PMs and engineers way early on in the design process itself, and vice versa as well. It just helps to be sort of part of that discussion. There are things that one might think of and the other might forget, and it sort of covers that overlap. Does that sort of help you, Vikas, or do you need something more specifically?
No, I think that's fine. If you have another session in this coming series, so that would be great.
I'm not taking that session,
Okay.
but there is one planned in this series, so you're welcome to sort of attend that.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Amran, you're next.
Yeah, hi everyone.
Hi, Kamal.
So my question was, I am currently working as a sole product designer in this B2B SaaS company, and previously I also interned at Go Mechanic, where there was a bunch of team members to learn from. But now, since I'm a sole designer, so how to grow in this trajectory so that I should not feel that after a year or two, I am lacking behind the other product designers who are working with a team. So yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So I know that concern. That concern has been very real for me for the longest time. I've always worked as a sole designer. Two things that particularly have helped me is one, of course, sort of finding other designers who are sort of at the same level as me, and building at least maybe a small group where, especially if someone else is a sole designer as well, just sort of meeting every now and then, showing each other's work, having questions, having discussions, etc. Those things I think have really helped me. The other thing is finding a mentor who's probably 2-3 years ahead of your journey, they've faced those challenges very recently as well, so they'll be able to sort of help you understand those things as well. I've done that. I still continue to do that. Even though I've been in the industry for 12 years, I have senior people that I sort of reach out to and talk to them on a regular basis. So that's one thing that's there. Yes, next question. But does that help you, Kamran?
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Right. So the next question is from Rahul. He's traveling, so he won't come on the stage. What does a day at work for you look like? So.
Okay. So I generally have a stand up in the morning with the other designer, just to sort of take a quick update on how was previous day and what both of us are working on today. A lot of the times I'm staring at the ceiling, just thinking, and a lot of my work actually happens on pen and paper before I even actually write a document or get into Figma. There are days where there's a lot of collaboration happening with engineering, so I don't end up getting any design work done. Sometimes it just feels that like just earlier this week, both the other designer on the team and me, we had a lot of distraction during the day, a lot of questions, etc., from engineering team, so we couldn't get our tasks done, and we ended up pairing post dinner and staying up very late night, and just sort of the flow that gave us that no distraction, no disturbance at all. Sometimes that happens, and I generally don't work on weekends. Yeah. Next question.
John, you are.
Hey, Sahil, John here.
Hi, John.
Hey, so I've been in brand and graphic design for quite a bit. I've been trying to crack into product design.
Okay.
So my question is regarding typography, right? Is there any particular resources or online course you can direct me to? Because the online ones, what I come across usually, it comes specific for the tools. How do you do typography in InDesign? How do you do typography in Illustrator? But something how an UI designer would approach it, like on H1, H2, or our web design or something like that. Is there any resources you can point me to that will help?
Yeah. So again, Smashing Magazine, etc., they cover a bunch of things. They have a bunch of tutorials across mediums, not so both for web and for app design. So I think that should sort of be a good place for you to start off with. And again, all of these people who are contributing authors to a list apart, Smashing Magazine, or actually you should also go to Figma's Twitter page. They tend to retweet a lot of designers doing interesting stuff, and just follow them. A lot of these people are sharing things which are just sort of helpful from day to day. I end up learning a lot of things as well. So those are sort of great places to sort of start off with.
Right. Okay. Pranjal, do you want to come up on stage and ask this question yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hey, hi, Sahil, Pranjal here.
Hi.
Yeah, Sahil, so this is like from a recruitment perspective. I'm working as a program manager. I'm initiating a new project and I'm looking for a designer for that project. So just want to know, how can I hire a designer effectively? What should I look on?
Sorry, could you repeat that? You were breaking a little.
Yeah, I was saying that what do I look for while hiring a new designer?
Okay. Is this for like a fresher?
Yes.
Okay. From a fresher perspective, one, the huge possibility that there are no actual real life projects over there in the portfolio or the case studies and stuff. But for me, I would look at maybe two. Generally, two is enough. Maybe 3 case studies or projects, and just sort of me getting a sense of how they've grown between each of those case studies or projects. That would sort of give me a sense of, are they even improving as they sort of go along the way? Even if it's on a minuscule level, right? I would try to sort of get a sense of, while talking to them, of, what were your learnings in the first project and what did you do differently in the next project, even if these are like fake projects. And the other thing is just sort of get a sense of how good they are with their basics. Do they have a good grasp of, working with Figma or whatever tools I have. These days, pretty much everyone's using Figma. Just so that I'm also hiring you, especially a fresher, to get the basics, the groundwork done. Since Abhinit is here, he can correct me as well what he would probably look into, because he's great at building a design team, and I'm just getting started with that. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't want to start double checking. I want to help you improve yourself and how things are done, but I don't want the ramp up to be able to do production work being so long that I have to sort of double check on every work that you do. These are the two things that I would sort of just basically look at it from that perspective.
Right, but like from the perspective, let's say, to be safe, right? Should we prioritize someone coming from a master's in design, like a IDC, IIT Bombay, something like that, or that doesn't matter?
No, yaar, I'm like, it really doesn't matter, I think.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. The next question that I have is from Vishwa. Do you want to again ask this question yourself? Okay, so the question is straightforward. Any resources for product managers to understand design?
I think best is attend the next session for PMs working with designers. I haven't really made a list of those things, so sorry, can't help you here, at least right now.
Right, thanks for that. And I see Abhinit Tiwari, who's actually a speaker in a future session in the same series, has posted that for typography in UI, the best place to begin with is material design, which is the Android design guideline, as well as the iOS guidelines. Maitri, next is you. Please unmute yourself and ask.
Sure. Thanks, Utkarsh. Hi, Sahil. Maitri this side.
Hi, Maitri.
Sorry. Actually, I missed the beginning of this session.
That's
So,
okay.
actually, I'm a QA right now, and I want to change from QA to design. Like design seems very interesting to me. So, but I have zero knowledge about it, and I just want to understand, like, for a person like me who is in different stream right now, and if I take up any course, say like you were talking about the 10K program, right? So if I take up that course and if I do well in that, so is it easy for me to like switch to a designer from a QA, and what are the
everything involves hard work, unfortunately. But yes, it is absolutely possible for you to do that. Give it a try. If you're worried about that you'll end up spending money on this, etc., and you don't know what it is like, some of these free resources that are out there today, even the guy Abhinav who runs 10K Designers, all his YouTube videos, go especially to his early YouTube videos on how to do things, etc. See if you're actually enjoying just replicating those exact things, and if that sort of makes sense to you, that you're getting a hang of things, etc., then maybe go ahead and apply for 10K Designers.
Yeah, actually, that's what. So I do like painting and all, but obviously that can't be the base to switch to designing because it's a totally different area altogether. So yeah, I mean, you already answered that thing. That how should I make sure that this thing, like switching to designing, will, like I will enjoy it or not? Like that was the second question that I had in my mind. So thanks.
Sure. Yeah.
Next is from Divya. Again, do you want to unmute yourself and ask? Okay, so the question that she asks is, How has your work impacted your life outside of work? How do you see things around you differently? And that is another question. I mean, Sipnal also asked the same thing.
Yeah, those memes about designers seeing ugly designs somewhere and their eyes hurting is unfortunately very real. Yeah, but other than that, so apart from product design in general, I'm just curious and I have an interest in all forms of design, be it architecture, interior design, fashion, furniture, stationery, all of those things. And I absolutely enjoy those things. I find them great places to be as a source of inspiration. Sometimes, I just like how things look, etc., and feel, and they can just unlock something for me. And in general, I also over time I appreciate those things as well. So I end up sort of trying to invest in those things, and they're not necessarily always expensive. Like just appreciating good watches, right? And I have a bunch of HMT watches which are like $2,000, $3,000 at max, right? Watches doesn't just sort of, I enjoy design and I appreciate how simple but pure sort of the HMT watches are. That's, yeah, something like that, I guess.
Thank you for that, Sahil. If there are any other questions, folks, please raise your hand. Otherwise, we'll wrap up.
Yeah. There was unless if someone else has any questions here on the session, but there were some questions that had come in through the sign-up form. Along with the deck link, I will share a small doc as well that has some of those answers. But I'll just sort of quickly think. Someone had asked, how do you grow in UI UX design? I'm not necessarily sure what do they mean by grow. Is it skills or up the career ladder and stuff? But Hardik at Unacademy on his blog, he has a good post on what a design org and the ladder sort of looks like, what a junior or a senior or a lead designer or a principal designer looks like, what are the competencies, capabilities.
Sorry for that.
Yeah. So that blog post, is a great place to sort of just understand what things you need to be able to do. And I think, of course, if you're improving your skills, as you will have to sort of improve your skills to be able to move up the career ladder as well. So I think that gives you some sense. Does artistic thinking really required for a beginner, like a person who isn't? I am the least artistic person. I can't draw, I can't paint, I can't do illustrations. Maybe this is why I'm able to hack my way through product design, because I literally have to draw rectangles. It's rectangles का corner radius बढ़ा दो गोला बन जाएगा. So that's pretty much what I end up doing. But again, if this question is more from a product design perspective, while there is some form of art, etc., that might come in, Pranay, yes, that is the one, I think. Yeah, but Meghna, coming to you, there is a fair amount of science to things as well. Just sort of getting you started off with, looking at some of the basics, like for example, the Gestalt principles, etc., will help you structure your things together, your typography, your colors, etc. There are a lot of tools that will help you generate typography, scales, and color palettes, etc. So you don't necessarily have to be artistic to sort of get started on this, or even go far along in the career as well. As a fresher, how can one develop product thinking skills? Nowadays, many companies have product thinking around for freshers. How does one navigate this? Really, I I don't know, yeah. This question, like, I would just sort of try to get a sense of how to think about it, but I don't necessarily have any points for it. If they think about it, what I might possibly ask them for is, hey, tell me about your favorite products, right? What do you enjoy using? Maybe tell me about the apps or websites that you've recently liked. Can you tell me what you liked about them? I think that sort of, I sometimes sort of do that, right? I look at new products that come out and just use them and see how they feel, what I like about them, etc. All of those things, and the rest is, as Raghav sort of says, I not necessarily mindset. It's a mindset that you can sort of build and sort of work towards. But yeah, I'm like, at the end of the day, observing people participating in these processes, etc., help you go a long way. At what stage can we refer books in the journey of designing? Meghna, if possible for you to sort of just turn on your audio and ask me this question, because I'm not sure I understand this question completely.
Hello, sir. Actually, my question was that I have been I have been seeing some of the reference books for the designing, like for the typography or something else like that. So as a beginner, can we refer those books right now, or it would be difficult for a beginner?
I mean, it completely depends on the books that you're looking at, but there are a lot of books that cover the basics and are good for beginners as well. So it completely depends on the books that you're looking at.
If possible, can you refer any of them, sir?
I will try to share that with Utkarsh. Sure.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
That's it, folks. Any other questions that you have? No. All right, then we will wrap up. Anything else, Sahil, that you had to speak with them or talk about?
Nothing. There were a bunch of questions that had come through the sign-up form. I'll just share those answers with you along with the deck and stuff, so you can just sort of send it over to everyone else. Would have loved to answer them, but I guess that's it for my side.
We can take those questions up right now, but again, since they were not asked by these people, I'm not sure if they'd be.
Sure, I can take a few minutes and sort of quickly just answer them. There was one question about how to collaborate with cross-functional teams. I think coming to a consensus about what the success metric for their project is very important. And everything else can sort of happen around it. I think a lot of times the issue is that success metric is not defined, and engineering or design and PM, etc., they're all doing their own things, or customer success is doing their own thing, etc., for that particular thing. But once sort of that success metric is defined and everyone agrees to it, and then everyone builds their individual all those individual teams build their own tasks and metrics, etc., that go in that direction. I think that's very key to sort of collaborating across, in a cross-functional team, etc. Someone was asking about studying for design higher education. Again, with the resources that I share with Utkarsh, I will link you to a person on Twitter. He's a good friend of mine. He's done his master's in human-computer interaction from Carnegie Mellon. He might be able to help you with some answers of these. Carnegie Mellon and Georgia Tech are great from what I've heard. I don't have a formal background in design education. But one suggestion I would be like, pick a place, pick a course and an institute, depending on what you're looking for, etc. Again, this was a very generic design question. It wasn't particular for a specific stream in design. But I would also suggest that see what else the institute is good at. See who especially when I say see what else the institute is good at, like if the engineering course is great, right? Maybe the robotics, if you have an interest in maybe robotics or something, etc., things like that, and seeing how you can do human computer interaction in that field. If a college, if an institute is great at robotics and has a design colleges or design courses as well, that's maybe some place that you sort of want to go look at, see who the alumni is, see what their industry relations are like, see if they have these industry folks coming in for sessions, etc. They're great ways to sort of build that network, get internships. You have to sort of probably look at that also in a very strategic manner. What's good design sense? Just immerse yourself. Follow people who share a lot of things in general. Like I said, I enjoy looking at architecture, interiors, stationery, furniture, all of those things. I think that sort of helps me sort of put some sort of anchor into, you know, what good design can look and feel apart from the day-to-day rectangles that I draw on screen as well. How do you keep yourself updated with latest design trends? Twitter primarily. Go check out my Indian designers list on Twitter. Go to Figma's page and follow all the folks there, RT as well. Yeah, I guess that I think covers it. Cool.
Thank you so much for that, Sahil. Okay, the important thing, folks. One, Sahil said that all the links that and the deck and any of the resources that he shared, he'll share with me. I'll write an email to all of you who joined and others who had registered after this session, maybe in like 1 or 2 hours. That's one. Second, Sahil has mentioned that if you have more questions for him, which are more custom to you, personalized to you, you can reach out and DM him on Twitter. If you have a really nice use case, we'd be happy to get on a call with you and help you out. He's very generous to offer that. Those are two important things about this session. Third and very important, this is the first session in a series of design for everyone that we are doing. The sessions in future will be targeted towards product managers, engineers, founders, and aspiring designers is something that we have already done. So, and we also have one for senior leaders who are trying to maybe build a design. We have some future speakers already in this session who joined as the audience. I'm not calling out on the stage right now, but please stay tuned. I'll actually give a quick teaser of this. Yeah. So, yeah, this is our lineup. We have already covered Sahil. We have 4 more amazing design leaders who will join us each week as we go ahead. To sign up, and since you're here, you have already signed up, but do join in these sessions. If you have not joined our community, this is the link, creatorsofproducts.com, exactly like it sounds. Go over there, sign up on our Slack to join in and have discussions. That's it from us for tonight. I thank you all for joining in. Have a great day ahead. And yeah, that's it. Bye. Thanks, Sahil. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah.
Happy to be.
Right, that's it. Bye, everyone. I'll just end this.